We've had so many wins on domestic policy and on shifting culture. And, it's cool to love America again, which didn't seem to be the case just a short time ago. And we've had so many wins under our belt in such a short time with President Trump signing all of these executive orders, just like with a stroke of a pen, which I'm not saying is necessarily a good thing for the next person who comes into office. Please, God, let it be JD Vance. But what I'm saying is sometimes we look at all these wins and we forget that there is still more work to be done, specifically in the instance of cancel culture. And, maybe comedy is kind of like changing where comedians feel like it's okay to actually be funny again and tell jokes. But there are some instances where cancel culture has just continued to go too far. And this particular story is an example of one of those. So there is a Spanish teacher in Washington, the state of Washington, which already, God bless him for being in the state of Washington. That's a crazy place to be right now. And he was recently, I say fired, but facing contract non-renewal because he used the N-word in his Spanish class several months ago. And I could sit here and I could retell the story the way that I've read it here on all of these articles, but I decided to just have him on and have him just explain exactly what it was that happened, because I think that when you hear the actual details, you read the headline and you're like, oh my gosh, he's using the N-word in class, fire the guy. Well, not all is not what it seems. And so I want to bring on Matthew Mastronardi. He is the host of the Great Reassessment podcast and, of course, Spanish teacher in, West Valley High School over in Spokane. Is that right?
Yes. Hi, Sarah. It's good to be with you. Yes,
Hi.
I'm a high school teacher, or was a high school teacher at West Valley High School. You got that right.
So can I call you Matt, or do you prefer Matthew?
You can call me Matt. That's fine.
Okay. All right. We're gonna act as if we're just long friends. Okay. So, Matt, explain because I read this and I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. But I want you to explain to the audience exactly what happened this day in April where you used the N-word in class.
Well, thank you so much for having me on and allowing me to share this. It takes a special person to appreciate context. And that's really what is necessary to understand this story. So I'm a Spanish teacher. And on April 17th, I was walking around my classroom, pacing the room, and the students were working on an independent assignment. And I overheard this conversation between these two girls, and they were talking about the book To Kill a Mockingbird. And they're currently assigned to read that in their English class, and it's approved by the school. And they were talking about how their teacher makes them skip over a certain word. We all know what the word is, right? It's the N-word. I won't say it here, but it's the N-word. And I just thought that's silly. Like, you are told to read this book and you're told to skip words. And as a lover of literature myself, I think that undermines the historical context, right? You distance yourself from what the author intended you to feel. We talk about authorial intent, right? Authors choose each word very intentionally. And we as readers owe it to them. We don't get to change the meaning. And so I just sort of calmly expressed disagreement, and it started a whole conversation about it.
So I guess they then dared you to say, okay, well, why don't you read it? Why don't you say it? And you said, okay, I will. Of course, I am certain to prove the point that we can't be scared of the words on a page of an assigned literature book. This is not like they went out and sought it out themselves. This was assigned by the school. So if the school has determined that this is safe literature for children, which, by the way, Matt, I'm not saying that every school has the greatest policy, because we have dealt with schools. My work with Texas Family Project here in the state of Texas, we have gone and found some really raunchy, disgusting books as far as sexually explicit books. So I'm not saying just because the school assigns it, it's okay. But I'm saying in this particular case, the school had assigned it. The English teacher had assigned this reading. And then it's like, well, read it, but also skip it. That doesn't compute with me. How can you both read the book and also skip certain words?
Yeah, so you miss an opportunity to have a conversation with students about the ugliness of the word.
Yeah.
And so I calmly just expressed my disagreement, and a girl asked me point blank in front of the class, well, if you were reading the book, would you say the word? And I sort of laughed, but I said, of course. Of course I would read every word if I was reading from the book. And right then, a boy whipped out the book. He had it on the exact page. And he said, okay, then do it. And so I took the book and I wanted to display for my students that you can read books honestly. You shouldn't have to fear the consequences. And let's just undo this lie you've been told that if you're white or whatever, that you can't read a book, right? You can't read the words as written on a book. And I just had to display that for my students because I think it does them a disservice to tell them that. And I understand that's not my curriculum, but I believe as an educator, it's my job to help facilitate critical thinking. And I tried to make it a lesson about context versus intent.
Yeah.
It's the intent of our words that really makes something racist or not reading it out of a book. And so I was secretly recorded, and that video made its rounds, and now I'm facing the loss of my job.
So how did the school handle it initially? Once this, the video surfaced, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Matthew Mastronardi used the N-word. Now let's just... He didn't call anyone the N-word. He wasn't using it in a derogatory manner towards anyone. He was simply reading an assigned reading. So how did the school initially handle it?
Yeah. You really quick, you make a great point. I actually told the kids, you should never call anybody this.
Right.
That would be despicable. I made that very clear. I said it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But it was actually kind of funny. So the very next day, that happened on a Thursday. Friday, I took the day off because it was my anniversary with my wife. We celebrated 5 years, and that was pre-planned. But all the kids thought I got fired. I came back the following week, and I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. The principal came and spoke to me, telling me, "I think you made a horrible decision. This could get really bad." And I said, "Why?" I mean, it was just a true teaching moment about context. And yes, it was candid, but over the course of a year, these kids aren't stupid. They ask really creative, thought-provoking questions. And if every time they did that, I just said, oh, sorry, we can't talk about that. It's not about Spanish, right? Like, no, as an educator, helping them think critically, it transcends the subject matter. We're trying to form the next generation and help them think critically about the world. And so I received a verbal reprimand saying that I behaved unprofessionally and uncivil with students. And I thought that was the end of it. I disagreed with it, but at least I still had my job. But then the next week, like an avalanche, the HR director had a meeting with me and said, look, in light of recent events, you can either voluntarily resign or we're not going to renew your contract. And I've had a few meetings back and forth with the superintendent, and he's still recommending me for non-renewal. The union has been offered no help and no meaningful help. They've been actively resisting me. And now I'm facing my final appeal at the school board meeting on June 25th.
So how can people get involved? How can people help you with this? And we'll say if they are in your area, but also if they're not in your area.
Yeah. So first, if you're not in your area, pray for me, right? This has been really hard on my family. Last Thursday was the last day I was allowed to go to school. And in second period, a girl turned her computer screen towards me and said, Mr. Mastronardi, is this you? And it was an article in the Daily Mail. And that's when I knew this was going to blow up. And by noon, I was given papers putting me on administrative leave, and I had to vacate the campus. I didn't get to go to the last day of school and say goodbye to students. But it's been hard on my family, and I have 3 kids, and so there's a change.org petition that the students actually started because the students are livid over this. Wow. And they're coming to my defense. So if you want to sign the petition as well, that would be really great. And there's also a Give, Send, Go, and it's never expected, but I really appreciate people's generosity to support me in this uncertain transition. And that's all. You can find that on my X account.
Yeah, I'll make sure to have that here on this program as well, so that people can be directed to it. It's really frustrating for me, Matt, because I feel like there are so few of you left. It really hit home with me when you said we're supposed to teach students how to critically think. There are so few teachers of you left who actually think We are supposed to help these children learn how to critically think. We're not supposed to teach them what to think. We're not supposed to teach them to the test. We are supposed to help shape their brains so that they can figure things out for themselves. And you seem to be a dying breed these days. So it's really frustrating to hear a teacher who cares enough to actually shape these kids, into actual young adults where they can make decisions for themselves, think things through, and you're the one who gets penalized for it, especially when you consider, if we don't talk about history, if we don't talk about these ugly words that used to be said, if we don't have conversations about this, if we're just told just skip over it, just ignore it, I mean, how can we be trusted to not repeat ourselves if we don't actually know that history?
Yes, when students are allowed to read every approved word, right, but they have no understanding of how we actually got here,
yeah,
it's fertile ground for the same cycles that we're trying to prevent, right? The same mistakes that we're trying to prevent from the past, that ends up breeding like fertile ground for these sort of things to just happen again. We're not learning from the past. And, I don't mind if somebody disagrees with me. I just want to know that you've critically thought about this. And that's really what this is about. This isn't about a word. This isn't about me having read from a passage from a book. This is really, are we allowed to tell the truth in schools? That's what this is about. Mm-hmm. It's much bigger than just one word, really. It's when a teacher falls outside of, deviates from the script, I guess you could say. The public school system has a way of detecting you out. Yeah. And if you're saying something that isn't in conformity with what they believe, to help students think critically for themselves, you get punished for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So your final appeal is next week?
Yes, it's on June 25th. Yesterday we had a little bit of a rally. I spoke with the media and I gave a speech, which I really think encapsulates what this problem is. And so if people want to check that out, they can see it on my X account. Right. But it was great because we had some students come out in support of me. The community is really rallying, and I think we're going to get a big showing at this June 25th board meeting, and people are going to, call it out for what it is and hold the administration accountable that we can't erase words. We have to confront history, even if it makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Well, I will be praying for you. I'm sure my audience will be as well. We will include the links, the change.org and the Give, Send, Go, so that they can help. And wishing you all the best, Matthew. Keep us posted on how this turns out.
I will. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you. Take care. Gosh, it's like, I wish my kids had a teacher like that. I send my kids I did send my older one to private school. I sent my kid to private school, and I still couldn't find a teacher like that. It's really refreshing to see and frustrating to hear that he is being punished the way that he is for trying to help out his students. If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you do. Click here.